Hello guys.
Hey.
Hello, Chris and Jeff, good to see you. Writer, director and star of Kick-Ass 2. How you doing?
Good.
Excited to be here. Excited to be talking about the film.
So we've got a bit of time today, so we're going to go in depth.
Fantastic.
In Kick-Ass depth. So I want to kick off by saying, asking you, why do you think the first film so resonated with people?
I think that it's something that, that people could relate to. When I was younger, I always wanted to be a superhero. And there's so many people that would want to be a superhero that it's kind of that story of what if a regular kid was a superhero. So the audience could really relate to that kind of aspect to it.
And what did you like about it?
Yeah, I think I'm uniquely qualified to answer the question because I had nothing to do with the first movie.
Yeah.
You know? I saw the movie in theaters before I ever met Matthew Vaughn or met any of you guys. So I saw it purely as a fan. And it resonated with me, honestly, for some of the same reasons Chris just touched upon, because we could all relate to Dave. We all want to make the world a better place, just none of us are crazy enough to actually put on a white suit and try and do it.
And then you got the gig.
I got the gig.
How did that happen?
Yeah, that was his pitch right there.
Yeah, exactly.
He went into the meeting and said that, and we're like, done.
I got the gig because I had a pitch for another project that Matthew heard and really liked, and I wrote the script, and he read the script, and he called me up, and I remember the phone call quite vividly. He said, I read the script, and it's just like the pitch. I said, yeah. And he said, so you do what you say you're going to do? And I said, yeah. And he said, so do you want to do Kick-Ass 2? And I was like, yeah. And so we started talking about it, and I bounced some ideas off him, and I think the first 4 issues were out, and I got scripts for 5 and 6 and an outline for 7 from Mark, and I think Matthew really responded to some of my initial thoughts on the topic. But then he got really busy with something else, so I actually just sat down and wrote the script and sent it to him. And we didn't have a deal or anything like that. And he read it, and he called me up.
That's awesome.
That's quite a brave thing to do.
Yeah.
And then did Mark have to have a look at the script, I guess? Because this is Mark Millar's baby.
Oh, yeah. No. Mark heard my initial ideas and weighed in and obviously read the script and had a lot of interesting thoughts. But at the same time, what's great about Mark is he understands that comic books and movies are different mediums. And that seems like a very obvious thing to say, but I'll never forget what he said to me early on was that he said, do not adapt my comics slavishly, because we all know those films that are slavish adaptations of their source material, and they often suffer as a result. He said, just make the best movie you can make. That will serve me much better in the long run if you make the best movie you can possibly make.
And you've known Mark for a few years now, having been in the first movie.
Yeah.
Did you get to have any input on your character? Because I think it's quite a unique project, this, and that the comics are being written at the same time as the movie.
Yeah, I didn't really, because I honestly didn't know Jeff was writing the script when he was doing it. I didn't know it was happening. I think Matthew might have emailed me and called me and said, I got this great guy, Jeff Wadlow, and he's writing, he's almost finished with the script. And at that time, I was shooting a TV show, a pilot, so I couldn't really be as involved as another actor as I would have liked to have been. But they sent me the script, and Mark Millar was sending me the comics as he was writing them. He kept telling me how excited he was about my character, and I got the script, and I thought it was fantastic. I thought Jeff did a really good job of writing a new arc for my character to go and for the other characters to go, because you've already seen Red Mist do what he did in the first one. You don't want to see that same thing, so he did a really good job of exploring a new path for these characters.
Well, what's interesting, I would actually say that Chris and Aaron and Chloe had more to do with the writing of Kick-Ass 2 than they even realize, because it's rare that you get to write a script
for actors.
It's not even like actors that I would like to use. Like, definitively, these are the actors playing these roles. So I really found myself channeling you guys and thinking about you and really listening to the voices in the first film and thinking about you saying the words as I wrote them.
Absolutely.
So you were like little gremlins sitting on
So
my
I should
shoulders.
get Red's credit.
Yeah, exactly.
My gremlin should get a Red's credit.
Exactly.
And some of the money, some of the writer's money.
No, I didn't say anything. He had nothing to do with the script.
But how is Red Mist different this time around? Because he goes through a fair few changes in this movie.
Yeah, I think in the first movie he doesn't know who he wants to be. He wants to be Red Mist, but he also wants to be loved by his father. So he's torn of whether to be the good guy and the bad guy. Whereas in this one, where he takes off is he's already kind of losing his mind, and he already wants his revenge for his father's death. So he knows exactly who he's going to be. He just doesn't know who it is yet, which is the but he knows exactly what he wants to do.
And the has quite a unique look.
Yeah.
What was it like trying out? Could you describe the costume maybe and talk about what it was like putting that on?
Yeah, it was. It looked amazing. I was curious. How long did it take to work out how that costume was going to look like?
Your costume was the hardest one to define, because one thing I love about Kick-Ass is it's superheroes in the real world, and I love this idea that Dave ordered his wetsuit online. So it actually always kind of bumped me a little bit that the Red Mist costume seemed to come out of nowhere in the first film. So I thought it'd be cool if we were going to design a new look for you to ground it in some sort of reality. So I kind of came up with this whole idea that you find your mom's fetish gear and your dad's guns, and the persona of the mother comes out of that. But it's one thing to have that idea, it's another thing to realize it. So we did so many different versions, that basically took that first look to the final look, and how far we were going to go before we landed on what you wore in the film.
Yeah, and I love the costume because in his world, he thinks it's the most badass, crazy supervillain outfit out there, but in reality, it's a weird fetish gear outfit that's quite hilarious.
And have you kept the gear?
No, I don't know where is it? Where is that?
It's storage at Matthew's farm,
he's got everything.
Something like that. Well, and it's also kind of ominous and twisted, and you made it seem more evil the way you inhabited it. I mean, you think about the Joker wears like a purple suit.
Yeah,
not scary at all.
Yeah,
but the way he owns it, and the way
Definitely.
you owned the gimp gear, I think, made it more ominous.
And there's a few new characters in the movie. Could you tell us a little bit about some of the new superheroes we're going to see?
Yeah, there's the Justice Forever, which is Colonel Stars and Stripes, Dr. Gravity, Battle Guy, Remembering Tommy, Night Bitch, Insect Man, and Eisenhower the puppy.
Yeah.
And then
not really a puppy, but
it was a sweet dog on set. And then there's the Toxic Mega, which is my evil group, which is Black Death, Genghis Carnage, The Tumor, and Mother Russia.
Yeah, and I had so much fun with the bad guys because, in the comic book, the heroes are very well fleshed out by Mark and John, but the bad guys were a little more amorphous. It's really only Mother and Mother Russia in the book, and then just sort of this legion, this evil army. So I really enjoyed trying to come up with characters for your crew that felt very Miller-esque. The Tumor being probably my favorite one.
Yeah, he's so good, Andy Nyman. Did Johnny Romita draw those for the movie, or were those from the comic?
No, those were drawn for the movie.
Yeah,
awesome. It's great, like creative synergy. So they finished the comic. I came up with these characters that weren't in the comic, but then John Romita drew them so that we could have those comic panels in the panels.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Mother Russia is kind of like almost like your bodyguard.
She is.
She's quite a sight to behold. How did you guys go about finding a woman of that size?
Well, a lot of the credit goes to Reg Poor Scott Edgerton, our casting director. He's worked on a few Bond movies, so he's familiar with the process of like a global search for unique characters. And very early on, he actually brought in a picture of Olga and said, "This is your Mother Russia." And it took us a while to get in touch with Olga, but we were contacting other people. I started going on these like fetish bodybuilder sites, like trying to get in touch with these women, because they're not just showing up to casting calls, right?
No,
I became friends with actually a webmaster for one of them who had all of their personal information, and I would like contact them on Facebook. There's this one incredible response I got from one of the female bodybuilders where she wrote back on Facebook, "Are you from a reputable company?" And I was like, Universal Pictures? You might not like all of their movies, but they are fairly reputable. And we would bring them in and we'd screen test them and fight test them. I mean, we brought this one woman in who was 6'9".
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but ultimately Olga was the total package. She could fight. She had the look.
Yeah, she really had the look.
And she was able to create a performance that I thought was really perfect for Mother Russia.
She didn't speak English, though, so we had to teach her. You had to, and her translator had to teach her.
I ended up having to mime a lot of things I wanted her to do. It was actually quite frustrating for me as a director sometimes, because from being on set, I like to yell from monitor, do it again, back up, do it again, do it again. And if someone doesn't speak English, you can't do that. Yeah.
But it's great though that you have got a character like that who Hit Girl can fight towards the end of the movie, because it is creepy watching her fighting a man, especially in the first movie. Yeah. So I think it works great towards the end of this movie when you finally see her face off against another woman.
Yeah.
And it all kicks off.
And you know that she's a total badass, that she could potentially take Hit Girl out. I mean, the whole point of that sequence with the cops on Night Bitch Street is to show that Mother Russia is a force of nature who is even more lethal than Hit Girl. So that you're just waiting for them to clash in the end.
That's one of the best action scenes in the movie.
Yeah, it's fun.
And Colonel Stars and Stripes is obviously played by an actor that people will know.
Jim Carrey.
Although what's shocking is, when we showed the movie to a couple audiences when it was in a rough cut, a few people didn't even realize it was Jim Carrey when the movie was over.
They were like, they lied to me. The poster lied to me.
No, because they didn't see the posters, right?
Oh, right.
So it's a rough cut. So we're showing this to get like an initial audience
and
response.
They just couldn't tell
and there was always at least a handful of people who would acknowledge it. They were like, "Oh yeah, I had no idea that was Jim Carrey."
That's crazy. You could tell. Did you see the movie?
Yeah.
You could tell it's Jim Carrey.
I feel like you could, but I did know in advance. I think you can, can't you?
Yeah, maybe they're.
I'm not making it up.
Well, he came in with all that himself, the prosthetics. He wanted to do the costume from the comic book.
I said to him, I want you to disappear into this character. And he took it quite literally, because the next time I talked to him, he's like, yeah, I'm going to do prosthetics. And I was like, no, that's not what I meant. Because when I hear prosthetics, I think, oh my God, he's going to be 3 hours in the makeup chair every day. We're a little independent film. I'm not going to be able to make my days. But to Jim's credit, he came in early. He actually paid for the prosthetics himself because we didn't have the budget for it. And he really just threw himself into the part.
He nails it.
Yeah, he really does.
We talked about it a bit in Comic-Con, though. Since then, he's kind of been less supportive of the movie.
Well, here's the thing about Jim Carrey. We love him in his movies, I think, because you never know what he's going to do or say. And I'm here to tell you that in real life, you never know what he's going to do or say.
Yeah.
So
it didn't really catch me by surprise when I heard the news.
I was shocked.
You were shocked?
Well, I'd seen him at ADR, and he loved the scenes, and he read the script. He was a fan of the movie, and I don't think the final movie's that different.
No, but he was only on set for 10 days, so he knew the script, but on page it's so different when you're like, oh, a cop car blows up, and then when you see it in the movie, how extreme it is. So he probably saw all his scenes, and all his scenes were like, not super bloody, and they're like good and fun.
I know he's got one particularly bloody scene that we won't go into too much detail about, but it's
quite but nothing
intense.
Involving guns and as extreme as other scenes were. So maybe he saw the finished product and just couldn't.
Look, here's my take on it. He is entitled to have his own opinion. He's entitled to change his opinion. Ultimately, I really believe his performance speaks for itself.
Absolutely.
And that people should see the movie and judge for themselves.
Can you talk to me about Union J?
Yeah.
Later.
How did that happen?
One of the big ideas I had for the sequel was that I wanted to say that it's not just like comic books that are influencing teenage boys. All pop culture influences us, and it doesn't matter who you are. And that I thought it'd be kind of fun to show that these girls are as swept up by boy bands as Dave and his friends are by comic books. And I thought it could be fun to do it to a comedic effect. And so it was about finding an act that's sort of new, that not a lot of people are familiar with. And
it was supposed to be The Wanted, right?
Originally it was a clip from Twilight. I wrote in the script that it was Jacob taking his shirt off.
Oh, wow. I'm glad that's not. There's enough Twilight jokes.
Yeah. But it needed to feel very relevant and of the and sort of the moment.
I'll be honest with you, I've never heard of Union J.
Well, that's one of the reasons.
It felt like a fake band to me when you were watching
it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to have an act that's just sort of breaking now.
Yeah. Do you know who they are?
Well, my colleagues who once saw the movie had thought it was a fake band as well. So I feel kind of bad that I totally knew who they were. Does that reflect badly on me?
Who are they?
They were on one of the talent shows, like X Factor.
Oh, that's out here.
Yeah, one of the UK, which is for the same show that One Direction came from, I believe. So they're supposed to be the next One Direction.
Union J. Jeff's just got a huge fetish for Union J.
It's true. I am a big boy band fan.
Was that music video shot for the movie, or was that an actual video?
We shot it for the movie. They brought in another director who shot it, but I went down to the set and I said, "Listen, we need some push-ins," and hung out with
push-in on abs and
exactly. Get some water imagery.
Yeah.
So, what was the hardest scene to write? What was the hardest scene to nail in the script process?
It was actually a shockingly easy script to write because I had such great source material and I could hear their voices so clearly. So it didn't take me long to write the first draft. What presented itself as a problem as we were developing the script was dealing with the passage of time, because the Kick-Ass 2 comic begins the day after the Kick-Ass 1 comic ends. Mindy's still 11 in the comic, but clearly time has passed for our characters in the real world. But we didn't want to have them like out in the world, at their first jobs, because that felt like it wasn't really true to this big idea of figuring out who you are. By the time you have your first job or you're at college, you should have started to figure that out, otherwise you're just kind of a loser. So we wanted them at that sort of critical moment where they still haven't decided who they are as people yet. And so trying to make that all make sense was very difficult. And we actually shot a lot more material to try to answer some of those questions. Right. And ultimately in the edit, we just took a lot of it out and just started the movie because we realized people just didn't care. Yeah. They were so happy to see these characters again. We didn't need to belabor, the point of how much time had passed.
Right.
And was there a particularly hard scene to shoot at all during the making of it?
Well, it was all pretty difficult because we were kind of making 3 different movies.
Yeah,
we were making Chris's movie, Dave's movie, and Mindy's movie, and they all had their own unique set of challenges. The probably the most significant being that we're an independent film. Our budget is the size of like the catering budget on The Amazing Spider-Man, and we're trying to make a superhero movie. So just the challenges involved in trying to make a movie that's bigger than the first film for a budget it was actually smaller than the first film was daunting. But the way I really attacked that problem was I just brought everyone back. Everyone who worked on the movie worked on the first film. I was the only new guy.
That was a great idea on your part to have everybody back.
Yeah,
because it really made it feel like we were making the Kick-Ass movie.
Yeah, and Matthew left it to me. He said, "Look, you can hire whoever you want, but you should meet with my people." And I met with them all, and it just sort of occurred to me they're bringing so much institutional memory to this process. I don't have to be the one going, wait a second, what was it like in the first one? They'll automatically know. So my only responsibility was to bring new ideas and new energy.
Cool. And Chris, was there a hardest scene for you to perform? Because you've got some dramatic scenes in this one.
Yeah,
you've also got the fight scenes.
I wanted to say that your casting of Ian Glenn was fucking great.
Yeah.
Do you watch Game of Thrones?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was so cool to have him in that one scene.
Yeah.
That was one scene I thought was going to be hard, and then when we got on the day, working with Ian was so crazy awesome.
And he plays like your uncle?
My uncle in the prison, yeah. It was one scene and he kills it. But I would say the hardest scene was just the last fight with Aaron, because I think it was my last trip from LA. I was doing a TV show in LA and I flew out to London and got off the plane and went to set, learned the fight, and then Aaron and I went for a good 3 or 4 hours on that fight scene, and Jeff was not holding back. He was railing it into us to do more takes and fighting in that suit, and Aaron had, his kick-ass suit on, which is also a nightmare to work in, I can imagine. Just doing fight after fight, hour after hour was very draining.
And there's an amazing EPK clip of when you guys were working and you actually hit him by accident. And you were like, "Are you okay?"
Closer.
And he was like, "Just do it again, just do it again." Because the fighting style is really different in this film, because the first movie, the action sequence is really focused on Hit Girl and Big Daddy, who are heightened. So it worked to have a sort of a Hong Kong wire work kind of vibe. But this movie is about the superhero movement spreading and more people trying to be superheroes and supervillains. So it was almost more evocative of the Warriors. I wanted it to have this sort of street brawl kind of vibe. So that meant less wire work and more just down and dirty, in your face fighting style. And what that meant for the actors was they had to do a lot more of it themselves, because I was going to see their faces because we were going to be close.
We did pretty much all of it.
Yeah.
And
we were going to do a lot of it.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
Yeah. So I got real. He kept saying, "Get your hands closer, get your hands," and I knocked Aaron in the face in one take.
Had you been wanting to do that for 5 years?
Yeah, for 5 years.
Cool. We're going to end this portion of the interview with some reader questions, if you're game for that.
Absolutely.
Adam Gallagher says, for Christopher, what was your parents' reaction when you told them you had a role as the mother?
My dad is a huge comic book fan, so he was ecstatic that I did the first Kick-Ass, and he's a huge Mark Millar fan, so he was excited. They were both excited to see the second one. I think, I did Superbad, and I was 17, so I had to have my mom on set for a sex scene for that movie. So if you can start your movie career having your mom watching you have fake sex, I think everything after is easy.
Oh, that's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Jeff, this is from Tom Greenslade, who says, is it tough working on a comic book movie, what with the passionate fans who are so hard to please?
I mean, I suppose, I think the fact that I was a fan first helps a lot, because I really just approached the film from the point of view that I loved the first movie. I didn't want to reboot or reimagine it, but I did want to push it further. I didn't want to do a rinse and repeat type of sequel, because I wanted to make a movie that would make the fans happy. And to have Matthew and Mark there supporting me sort of gave me the confidence to forge ahead, knowing that the originators were giving me their seal of approval.
This one's for Christopher. This is from Thomas Smalley, who says, you've played a number of roles in comedies and action films like Kick-Ass. Is there a genre you'd like to try, such as a gritty drama?
Yeah, gritty drama sounds exciting. I didn't know that was an actual genre of movies, gritty genre. I would love to try. I'm very lucky in a place right now where I can kind of pick and choose what I want to do. and I want to make movies that I would want to go see. So I love those kind of movies. I would be down to try that. Yeah.
Cool. This is from Aaron Charming Burden. Who would win in a death match? Colonel Stars and Stripes or Big Daddy?
Wow.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
I say Big Daddy.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Big Daddy.
Yeah.
Just because he puts bullets in his guns.
Yeah, yeah.
That does make a difference.
That does make a difference.
And equally, Mark Coleman asked, what was it like watching Jim Carrey do his thing, nailing the role?
I mean, you should talk about your big scene with him.
Yeah.
Is this sort of a spoiler, though? We should let...
Well, I won't say too much, but I have one scene with him, and it's an intense, fun scene. And he's the kind of actor that would, when I was there, would stay in character in between takes and kind of, you know, be riffing and creating new lines. And then, you know, Jeff would come in and be like, all right, we got it. And Jim would kind of tell you, like, no, I'm not ready. Like, I don't feel right about it. And he would keep riffing and keep going. And it was really cool to know that you could say you could say no to Jeff Wadlow, because it's hard to do.
Oh, I mean, we turned off the cameras.
Yeah, he was just like, Jim was just in a room by himself.
Yeah, we were like, yeah, keep going. We're going to get some food.
No, but it was very inspiring to see how devoted he was to his role.
Well, you know, directing a guy like Jim Carrey is a different thing, because really my job, by and large, when I'm working with actors, is to sort of help kind of pull the performance out and sort of be a sounding board for them, you know, as they think about what they want to do and the story we want to tell, you know, to work with them to kind of figure it out together. Whereas with Jim, you know, he comes in with so much. I mean, he's working on the dialogue, you know, the night before, and he's coming up with stuff in the moment, and sort of my job becomes slightly more passive, where I need to step back and kind of observe and absorb what he's doing and start to kind of edit the movie in my mind, thinking like, okay, that will work for that moment, that will work for that moment. Oh, I wasn't even thinking about that. That'll be great too. And just kind of make sure we have something for everything we need and allow him to just kind of do his thing.
Cool. Well, thanks, guys. We're going to end this bit of the conversation here, but we are going to talk spoilers in a separate video. So come back and watch this once you've seen the movie. In the meantime, though, thanks to you guys for talking to us.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.